So God bless you. John David's going to come and share. As you know, come on up here. John David is going to Olivet Nazarene University, and he's, I don't know what he's studying for. No, he's studying to be in the ministry. I like that, and so we're thankful. So, Amanda, you're running the sound booth. Good, right? So he goes to these other small churches now, and as far as his training, and so I said, well, it was canceled. I said, I didn't think I did a good job last week. So I said, why don't you give it a shot? And if he does any good, maybe I'll go to Florida for a week.
Yeah, that one. I don't know. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. For those of you who do not know me, I'm JD. I'm the Pastor John and Sue's son. I do go to Olivet. It's about an hour and a half away from here by Kankakee. I'm studying pastoral ministries and biblical studies with a minor in political science. Before I start, I just want to open up in a quick word of prayer. If you guys can bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day. Thank you for this Sunday. I thank you for all these people here. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. And I pray that my words would be your words and that you would speak through me. And I pray for these next 20 or so minutes that they would be yours and you would communicate to your people. In your name, amen. Today I want to talk about a purposeful priority. We live in this day and age where everything's at our fingertips. You get packages in a day or two. You can watch almost any movie online. The internet gives us the opportunity to find an answer to a question. Society is evolving at an incredible rate. On top of all of this, especially for the younger generations, we always seem to have this need to want to do something. Our society has developed into an entertainment-heavy world, and we often find ourselves getting caught up saying that we're busy, but we're really just doing nothing sometimes. With all this entertainment, we're sometimes just wasting our time. Then when problems arise, we often find ourselves wondering if God's with us and if he's there. When we are so-called caught up with being busy and always doing something that sometimes we forget to take our practical time to spend time with God. However, I want to suggest, what if we are not listening or spending our time purposefully with God? Even when people are at a restaurant, the first thing they do is pick up their phone. Even when we're starting to drive, we turn the radio on right away. Sometimes we don't just simply sit and listen for God's voice. And more times than not, God's answer for us is not going to be a big, clear, drawn-out answer. But it'll be more of a simple reassurance. Hey, I got your back. I'm still watching over you. You are forgiven. You are mine. But if we aren't paying attention and we aren't prepared, then we will miss what God has in store for us. We must prioritize our time. With all that being said, that's going to lead into today's passage is found in Luke 4. So if you have your Bibles, feel free to turn to Luke 4. And it'll be up on the screen as well. Turn it down. Yeah. You're getting your back. Yeah, you're fine. So the question I want to ask and want to answer this morning is, how can we as Christians be more attentive and specific in our life for God's kingdom? The answer to this comes from how Jesus carried about his business in verses 42 to 44 found in Luke 4. I have 3 points today. PPP. And no, that's not the government's Paycheck Protection Program. The 3 P's are priority, purpose, and preach. So let's read Luke 4, 42 to 44, and you can follow along on the screen. When day came, Jesus left and went to a secluded place, and the crowds were searching for him, and came to him and tried to keep him from going away from them. But he said to them, I must preach the kingdom of God to the other cities also, for I was sent for this purpose. So he kept on preaching in the synagogues of Judea. Why is Jesus doing and saying this? One scholar puts it this way. Jesus' departure from the town, in a sense, brings a close to the account of the beginning of the Galilean ministry, and starts the first appearance of Jesus in this gospel as the kingdom preacher. Luke is introducing another aspect of Jesus from all the other ones that were seen. Luke is pinpointing the start of Jesus being sent as a preacher of the kingdom of God. So let's look at verse 42 again. At daybreak, Jesus went out to a solitary place. The people were looking for him, And when they came to where he was, they tried to keep him from leaving them. So first off, we have priorities. Luke 4:42-44 can be cross-referenced to a passage in Mark, chapter 1, verses 35 to 39. Through the passage of Mark, we can see that Jesus was prioritizing prayer. So in Luke 4, when it says Jesus went out to a solitary place, he was praying. He went away from everyone. Sometimes we just have to get away from the noise of life and spend time with God. In this instance, Jesus went into a deserted place because he knew the value of solitude with his Father. It's like the saying everyone hears from their coach, their parent, their teacher. You hear it in life eventually. You get out what you put in. If our main priorities are set in stone in ungodly things, God starts to slip back in our life. What you prioritize gives way to who you are. And it is clear that what we feed our spirit will reflect in our attitude and our character. Here's an example, for instance. When someone is severely injured, let's say an ACL, it usually causes more damage moving the person where they are when the injury happens before they're actually stabilized. The principle can be applied the same to us as Christians. There are times that when we fall short of God's glory, which we all do all the time, we need to stay down before we can get back up. Stay on our knees and pray. We must confront our failures and walk through them, and the best place for that to start is on our knees. Prayer is powerful, and we need to give priority to it just as Jesus did in Luke 4. Because if we don't prioritize the right things, like prayer as the example is here in the passage, then we set ourselves on the wrong course. We need to trust God and lean on Him to help and guide us and direct our paths. We need to set our priorities on eternal things, because that is what truly matters and has the only real significance on this earth. Jesus says it best in Mark 8, verse 36. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world, yet forfeit his soul? Jesus made his relationship with his Father a priority. That is what we need to be focusing on and striving for. So now that we have established this, what we give the most preference to takes over our lives. Now we probably wonder, what are these priorities that I need to align with my purpose? Well, let's go back to Luke. Verse 43 reads, "But he said, I must proclaim the good news of the kingdom of God to the other towns also, because that is why I was sent." You have a purpose. Verse 43 shows us that Jesus knew his purpose and did not want to deviate from it. It clearly says, because that is why I was sent. He's proclaiming the good news of the kingdom. For us, we need to know our purpose. In general, we as Christians are called to be a light in this dark world. We're supposed to glorify God in everything that we do. For each of us, God has a certain plan and purpose. And his plan we won't always see, we won't always know, but we still can do our part. It is our job to make the intentional decision to pursue Jesus each and every day more and more. When our priorities are out of line, our purpose as witnesses and disciples begins to change. It's our priorities that need to line up with our purpose. Because Jesus made his Father his top priority, doing his Father's will, Jesus clearly knew what his purpose was, and he set out on it. Jesus' purpose was to preach the kingdom of God and finish his Father's will. Miracles were only part of Jesus' ministry and work, and sometimes we focus on those too much, but they were not his main focus. He knew his purpose, and he knew why he was on earth. For us as humans, I have this comparison. The average human life is about 70 years. According to a general survey taken by those calling themselves Christians, we spend in total about less than 2 years spending time on things of God, compared to 23 years of sleeping, 8 years of watching TV, 16 years of working, 6 years of traveling, and you get the idea. Now, don't get me wrong. None of these things are wrong. Some things we can't control. Sleeping we can't control, obviously. But other things, such as leisure time activities, are we truly focusing on what's eternal all the time when we can? Instead of watching our favorite TV show right when we have the opportunity, or movie, whatever it is for each of us, why don't we spend time pursuing God more? And I'm not trying to say if you do this or do that, I'm not trying to say a legalistic approach, but we should be spending more time with God. What we practice is what we're going to live out. We should be yearning for more time with God, and we need to act on it. All of our purposes will look different depending on our occupation and our location of life, but we are all called to live a godly life and do what is pleasing to God. So just as my first point led into my second point, My second point is going to lead into my final point. A good part of our purpose is to preach. Verse 44 says, "And he kept on preaching in the synagogues of Judea." You have to preach. Verse 44 says Jesus kept on preaching. He continued doing his purpose. And Jesus did not go to one or a few cities. He went to everyone. Now, I'm not saying that we all need to be preachers or pastors or anything like that, but we all have a duty to preach. Perhaps a better word is proclaim. But I like the word preach because that is what we should be doing. We connotate preaching with being a pastor, being on a stage, being on a platform. But preaching, when it's boiled down to its simplest origin, is simply being a witness, being a light. And wherever we are called to be Christ-like and be an example to other people. That's preaching, that's proclaiming the gospel. 1 Peter says, "Live such good lives among the pagans that though they accuse you of doing wrong, they may see your good deeds and glorify God on the day he visits us." We are to live by example and act as Christians in every setting we find ourselves in, not just when we're around other believers, but everyone. God calls us to be a light in this dark world. Too often we shy away from our faith. We need to be intentional about who we are and what we are. Whatever and wherever God puts you, whether it's a big responsibility, whether when you're in charge of a lot of people, or maybe it's just a small amount of people or just your family, you can make a difference. You can preach. Sitting back and doing nothing doesn't get anyone anywhere. We need to be active. We need to proclaim. We need to preach. To help illustrate this concept, I found a story online. It reads, "A lighthouse along a bleak coast was tended by a keeper who was given enough oil for only 1 month and told to keep the light burning every night. One day, a woman asked for oil so that her children could stay warm. Then a farmer came. His son needed oil for a lamp so he could read. Still another came and needed some oil for an engine. The keeper saw each as a worthy request and measured out just enough oil to satisfy all. Near the end of the month, the tank in the lighthouse ran dry. That night, the beacon was dark, and 3 ships crashed on the rocks. More than 100 lives were lost. When a government official was investigating the matter, the man explained what he had done and why. You were given one task alone, insisted the official. It was to keep the light burning. Everything else was secondary. When we fail at our given purpose, we fail at everything. We can think we are doing right and good like the innkeeper was, but often we are missing the big picture of things. When we look at Jesus' life, for instance, we see his miracles and are astonished. But miracles were not Jesus' life. They were not his concentration. They were good, but they weren't the goal. Just as Christ kept his mission and his goal in mind, we need to stay our course and keep our purposeful priority. Jesus could have done a lot of other things, and they all could have been really good. But preaching, as Luke 4:44 points out for us, was what Jesus kept on doing and was focused on. From these 3 verses, we learned how to set our priorities, maintain our purpose, and keep preaching. Okay, maybe you're still wondering, what's the main application I can take away? How do I apply this to my everyday life? Why do I need to do this? Well, what you feed your spirit is the ripple effect to everything. And for me in my life, I find this best example in music. I find that when I'm listening to more worship music, my day goes better, my attitude's improving. So now I'm listening to more Christian music. And I do it even sometimes where I just have a few songs and I'm meditating on them. And I found myself one time when I was driving, taking the longer way home just so I can finish my song. But it may not be music for you. But what can you do better in your own life? One aspect that I've found really helpful, especially in high school and college, has been devotions. I mean, we all have a smartphone. We all go on our phones all the time. And a great app that you can utilize is the Bible app, where there's thousands of devotions that you can use. And maybe it's not that for you, but whatever it is, growing in some way will help you exponentially. My challenge for myself in all of this in the next coming weeks is to set your priorities, maintain your purpose, and keep preaching. It's going to look different for all of us, but we all can take more time out of our day to really focus on what God's trying to teach us in our life. In order to carry out sharing the good news with others, we have to prioritize God. Christianity is a never-ending process, and we are continuous to be building upon everything. There's no final goal on this earth where you can say, I've done it. I've completed everything. Christianity is lived on an incline. And might I say, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward. That doesn't mean we won't struggle with our faith, because we all have struggles. We all have doubts. It's hard. But we always need to be prioritizing God. As Paul says, we are to put away childish things. It's our decision and our choice to create space between us and Jesus. Priority gives way to our purpose, and a big part of our purpose is to preach. If we aren't purposeful in our priorities, then everything else falls apart. Let's be doers in these next coming weeks and use them as a stepping stone to grow with God even more. Thank you.
You need to take the class all over again.